Hey there, everyone. My name is Caro, and I am the hands behind the craft here at the Forge of Sagas. I wanted to take some time here at the start of the new year to give you guys a little bit of a preview of some of the projects I'll be bringing you over the course of 2022. Now, if you're new to the hobby, we will be expanding upon our Terrain Essential series, including a stacking skyscraper build that I think is going to be a really nice and simple way to kickstart your terrain collection. But if you're looking for something a little more intricate or complicated, we will be doing some full boards of terrain, much like what I did with my packing insert challenge or my Halloween bones build. To inspire me, I went to the comments section and I found someone who suggested I build a spaceport. And when I saw it, I said, yes, I have an idea for this, and we're going to build ourselves a little Necromunda smuggler's port where goods are snuck in and out of the Underhive for the gangs to trade and steal. Also, we're going to be revisiting Blood Gulch Outpost number 1 and wrapping that series up because that requires a lot of foam coating, and I'd prefer to do that outside rather than inside. Just, preserve my lungs and all. So, once it gets a little warmer out, we will be returning to the old red versus blue battleground to finish off that project. One of the last things I want to touch is we are going to delve into that debate between 3D printing and handcrafting and which is better and what defines real crafting, as I decided to go in a little head-to-head with my hands versus my printer in a little bit of mono on nozzle. See which one comes out with the better build. So, I'm excited for that challenge. We'll just see how it takes shape. There also is a potential for a collaboration with a friend of mine down the road, but we'll get to that when we get to that. However, there's one project that I need your help with, and that is Armies on Parade. So, let's get into a discussion of what that's going to look like. This year, Games Workshop has decided to do something a little bit different when it comes to Armies on Parade. Instead of it being just their end-of-the-year display board competition, they've decided to make it a year-long affair with a new challenge every 2 months to help people build those smaller components so that, come November, they've got a full display board ready to go. I really like how this is set up, so I'm going to be following along in my new series, The Road to Armies on Parade 2022. In this series, I'm going to take the first month of each challenge and execute whatever it is, whether that be kit bashing, terrain making, whatever it needs be. That way you guys can not only see the methods and techniques I'm using to create what I need, but also get into my head a little bit and understand the philosophy behind my choices, both from an army construction standpoint, as well as how these pieces are going to fit into my final display board. So, that way you guys have the entire second month to execute whatever you need for your particular projects. Our first challenge on the road to Armies on Parade is New Year, New Army. This challenge is all about focusing in on the faction of your choice and building a solid foundation for both your new army and your eventual display board. You can choose them for any reason you like, but for me, the big thing that I'm going to do is pick 2 armies. I always find that staging 2 armies in conflict on a display board helps to bring the board to life a little more. It allows you to tell a story and get people involved in your board, and, it's done very well for me. In 2021, I did my Space Marines versus my Dark Mechanicum, and I took home the gold. Also did it in 2019 with my Ideneth Deepkin versus the Cypher Lords from Warcry. During both competitions, I had a lot of people come up and tell me that they really liked how the board had a life of its own. They could see the conflict evolving and see these 2 forces clashing over whatever it is I'd staged them up to fight over. It was just a really great way to incorporate the models, the terrain, and the lore into one piece. And that really helps bring people into your board, and I think it gives you a little bit of an X factor in competition, if I'm being honest. So, that's something to think about while you decide what armies you want to do. Now, I'm sure you're asking yourself, well, Caro, what armies are you doing? I don't know. Honestly, I've had so many different ideas of things I could do. Sometimes it's, I think I could do a really cool conversion of that model. Sometimes it's, new rules came out for that army, and I've been toying around with the idea for maybe sometimes years now, and I'm like, now the rules are really fun, I think I want to play this army. And it's just one of those things. I have so many different options, I have no idea what I'd like to do. So, I'm going to hand that decision over to you all, my viewers. I'm going to go through in the next segment all of the different options that I have, and after that, we'll discuss how you guys can cast your vote to decide what I do for Armies on Parade 2022. Now, our first faction, in no particular order, is the Dark Mechanicum. The Dark Mechanicum is an army that I started back in 2020, but when your army covers Adeptus Mechanicus, Chaos Space Marines, and eventually I'd like to branch out and have it also cover Death Guard, you've got a lot of room to work. Honestly, this army is all about the mad science to me. How can I do as much kit bashing as possible from the Imperium, Chaos, Xenos factions and create these abominations that represent the truly eccentric science of the Dark Magus. Even though I used this force in last year's Armies on Parade, if it is selected this year, I will use none of the units I used last year, creating an entirely new force to set the galaxy ablaze in the name of the Dark Omnissiah. Our next faction, appropriately enough, is the Chaos Knights. Everything you love about the Dark Mechanicum, but bigger. Honestly, what else is there to say about the faction? They're a bunch of giant, angry, heretically modified death machines, and I love every word in that statement. It's going to be a lot of fun creating these massive scale kit bashes that you just don't get in other armies, as well as creating some of the smaller scale stuff, relative, with the armigers as I complete my collection of war dogs dedicated to the 4 Chaos Gods. I've already finished war dogs for Khorne and Slaanesh, but I still need ones to represent Nurgle and Tzeentch, as well as Chaos Undivided. So, if you guys want to spread chaos in as big a way as possible, this might be the faction for you. If you enjoy causing pain and suffering, but you don't want to deal with any of that warp nonsense, might I interest you in the Drukhari? This army for me would have a heavy Japanese influence with my Cabal, the Unsullied, serving as a sort of samurai-style elite warrior, so skilled with the blade and splinter rifle that no drop of their enemy's blood has ever even touched them. They will be accompanied by the Cult of the Falling Petals, their witch cult that serves to assassinate any foe, whether in real space or within the dark city of Kamara. Lastly, we have my coven, yet to be named, but they will reflect the Oni of Japanese mythology through their horrific fleshcraft and the creation of their Talos pain engines and grotesques, and whatever else it is they provide to their Cabal masters. If you wish to bring this real space raid forth, lay your tribute at the feet of the Unsullied. My next faction is the Craftworld Eldari, and this army has a very special place in my heart, as it's the first army that I ever collected. Honestly, I had a ton of fun building and playing it, and it did inspire me to start doing conversions. However, some of that work is starting to show its age, as I have gotten more skilled in both converting and painting. It's not quite up to my standard anymore, so it's definitely a faction that I would like to revisit and bring up to a little bit more of a polished finish. My idea for this force is to make them a Corsair band, however they are noble Corsairs in service of the Ynnari. This faction is going to draw very heavily from the fantasy elf model ranges, because I want to give them that Arthurian knight-errant feel. They are out on a quest to save their entire race from destruction and damnation, and I just feel that deserves a much higher fantasy feel than the standard Eldari armor. Plus, with them getting a whole bunch of new models and new rules, it's just a faction that looks like it's definitely going to provide me a whole bunch of new opportunities. So, if you want to walk the path of the dead, the Phoenix Host will walk with you. Now, if you hate me, go ahead and choose Harlequins. Make me do an entire army of space clowns, complete with all the itty-bitty diamonds. Honestly, Harlequins are the force that drew me to 40k in the first place. I was just too scared to start collecting them at the start because of the challenge of painting all those diamonds. However, I have grown in the hobby, I think, and I'm ready to take on that challenge. Additionally, I feel like taking all of the tropes that exist throughout theater and incorporating them into the different models of the Harlequins, whether that's a troopmaster doing Hamlet, "Alas, poor Yorick, I knew thee well before I tore your skull out of your head and beat you to death with it," or my favorite character concept at the moment, which is a death jester who simply plays the critic, the one man who truly knows how to put an end to your show. So, you want to see me suffer through all of those diamonds and recreating that prismatic assault on your senses that is the Harlequins, cast your vote for the Mask of the Last Laugh. Now, if you want to annoy the lore purists, go ahead and give your vote to the Straw Hat Freebooters, my One Piece themed orc army. At the helm is that wonderful Straw Hat Morgie that you guys have already seen on the channel, but we've got a whole army we can build behind him to give him everything he needs to become the King of Dawa. So if you want to see some grade A looting from every single army I can get my hands on, and some absolutely ridiculous One Piece tie-in conversions, go ahead, climb aboard, and set sail with the Straw Hat Grand Wa. Last but certainly not least is the Gangs of the Underhive. I had a lot of fun with the Dark Uprising set, and having played a couple of skirmish games, I'm sold. Necromunda is something I definitely want to get into more. The whole narrative element of the campaign is a constantly evolving structure, and the awesome amount of customizability you get within the game is something I really want to delve into more. Additionally, all the different unique house agents, bounty hunters, and hangers-on allow for some really cool customization and kit bashing that you cannot find in any other system. So, if you guys want to take the Underhive by storm, give a shout out to the Gangs of Necromunda. Now that you've heard from all of the factions, let's talk about how you can vote for your favorite to ensure that they end up on my Armies on Parade board in 2022. Now, you'll have 3 opportunities to vote. First, you can leave me a comment here on this YouTube video, giving me the name of the faction you most want to see on my display board. Your second opportunity will be on the Instagram post that is tied to this video, and that will be linked in the description. Again, just leave me a comment with the name, and that'll add to their tally. Lastly, there will be a poll on Facebook. Click and add your response, and that'll be your third opportunity to ensure that your army gets picked for Armies on Parade. Now, there will be one exception to the top 2 vote getters getting on my board, and that is Gangs of the Underhive. If Gangs of the Underhive comes in first place, I will treat you all to a multi-gang melee, the likes of which you have never seen at the end of this year. But if Gangs of the Underhive comes in second place, I will be dropping them and bringing up the third place faction to face off against whoever's number 1 on my Armies on Parade board. So, you guys know how to vote. Make sure you also give this video a like and subscribe to the channel to keep up to date on all of our Armies on Parade projects, as well as everything else we do here on the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again the next time we ignite the Forge of Sagas.